Ahoy, and welcome back to Brick and Lantern. If you couldn't judge by my piratical greeting today, we have a treasure hunt to start. I was recently doing some thrifting and found a very interesting set of parts. At the time, I didn't realize what I was buying. I only saw, oh, this is a bulk box of Lego bricks for $5. That's a steal. When I got home, though, I started digging, and I realized that I had some parts here that seemed to line up with a very certain set from 1989. The 6274 Caribbean Clipper from the old Pirates line. So, I took all the parts out, started looking, and realized that I actually might have a complete set here, or close to a complete set. So join me today on part 1 of the Caribbean Clipper Quest, or Clipper Quest, and we will see exactly how many parts we have. I've printed off an inventory from Bricklink, so these are all of the parts in the set that was back in 1989, and we're going to go through these 2 bins of bricks and see what we have in here, see what we're missing, and actually assemble a parts list of things we'll need to buy to assemble the ship back to its former glory, and hopefully get the crew back on board. So I started off with the obvious things. I had a brick separator with me just to make sure, instead of, if you can see the cannon in the center of the screen there, I wanted to take everything as apart as possible just to, 1, give myself the full experience of actually building this set from 1989, and 2, keep the parts inventory accurate instead of attempting to go back and forth between, oh, I have this assembly complete versus, oh, I have this assembly not complete. This is the first time I've ever even attempted to rebuild a set like this. And I got very lucky with this thrift. I also found a couple of other interesting things that we will get to later while sifting through this box of bulk bricks. Which, say that one 5 times fast. Box of bulk bricks. Oh yeah. That's a new tongue twister for all of you at home. But my goal is really, I want to get this set back to its former glory. I mean, if you look at the current Bricklink prices for the Caribbean Clipper, you'll see that it's about $125 for all of the parts complete, but today we scored it for $5 incomplete, so hopefully we can get these parts for cheap and put it together for $30 or $40 all said and done. Though I understand that is a bright side, and we'll get to it later, but we are missing some very key parts. I'm sure you could even tell some of what we're missing at this point. So a lot of this was just me sitting down, taking the parts list, and sifting through the parts, as you can see. I sped it all up for your enjoyment, but really it's just going color by color, page by page, and saying, okay, I have this, I don't have this. Do I have 4 of these? Do I have 5 of these? And it was really almost a tedious process, which I think was a little bit of a blessing and a little bit of a curse, because it was nice to have something to do with my hands for 2 hours, or however many hours I was doing this, but what also ends up happening is that you're sitting there looking for a round 1x1 in black. You're looking for 13 round black 1x1s, and you've got 12 or whatever. So sometimes I'd end up coming back for a certain part, or thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to find this part until we get to the end. So there's a little bit of flipping back and forth. But you can see that I just have the Sharpie, and I'm going part by part, piece by piece, putting it into the Tupperware container I had everything in, and marking them off the list. So hopefully the goal is that we'll be missing only a few pieces at the end, and we'll really be able to construct this set very easily, which is something that I'm excited for, is I really hope that we're able to get the parts for this pretty easily and put it all back together and get to display it out, because I've never been much of a Pirates guy, but I couldn't pass up the chance to take these parts and just let them sit in a bulk bin somewhere. Like, I don't even know what I would do with that brown rigging in the center of the screen. I'm sure I could figure something out, but I think it's much cooler to kind of document this quest. And here is the first page of the Bricklink parts inventory. Big score was getting the entire mast together. I didn't know if I'd have it or not, and understanding that these masts are fairly limited would be a very expensive part to acquire on our own. So this is the list as I printed it off. I printed the entire parts inventory, and I'm just going through, listing check marks on the side, and you can see there are tallies of the parts that I have and the parts that I don't have as I am collecting them. So we have those 13 yellow cone 1x1s, and I'm just looking for them and marking them off as we find them. Of course, those parts are going to be difficult to find because you're looking for 1x1s in a sea of bricks. It's pretty difficult to actually come across those things, and it is kind of like trying to look for buried treasure almost. we have much of what we need here. We have the large printed flag piece, which was something, again, that I was a little nervous about whether or not we were actually going to have. We also had the parrot, the monocolor yellow parrot, and all of the treasure pieces and loot, as well as the minifigure accessories, which hopefully we'll have some minifigures to put along with those accessories, but I'm just excited that we have the accessories. We have the parts that we were looking for, mostly, with the exception of a few big items that we'll be able to get to later. Also, in the bottom left hand of the screen, you can see there is a tile piece. There's a blue tile with the number 2 on it. I realized that this is actually a part from the 6502 Turbo Racer that is part of the town line from 1989. Not exactly what I was looking for, and I did save the parts from the Turbo Racer that I had, just to kind of put them together and see if I have the other parts that I need in the collection. Not exactly something I was looking for, but a minifigure scale polybag, I will never turn that down, especially something as old school classic like the town line. It's fun to just have these sets and gotta put them back together and be like, oh, look at this little tiny relic of LEGO history we have here, especially things like that. So I would possibly have another set in here. I wasn't quite sure. A lot of the elements I was sifting through, I'm like, this is a window, wall, door for something. There's a lot of big chunky wheels. If anyone has any idea of what the set might be, if you're looking at the images, the overall like flow of the bricks, and you're like, oh, I think I see this set, can you comment and let me know what it was? Because I already passed off the extra bricks to somebody else, but I'd love to message them and say, hey, I think we actually have this specific set, like give them a set number so that they might be able to go on their own town quest. It's not as cool as Clipper Quest, okay? We really got the cooler title here, but leave a comment down below if you think you have an idea of what the town set might be that I passed off to the other person there. Here is a really cool difference between the old school pirate sets and the new school pirate sets. So this is a current pirate cannon. I got it with the VIP Pirates parts pack. It's a little different than the old cannon, which I'm bringing in now. One, the detailing is a bit different. There are swords on that cannon. It's got the lighter gray. It's also got a little fuse port on it, but the big difference is coming up, and that is in functionality. You might be able to tell on the other cannon, it's got some different parts layouts, it's got a little bit of a different print in it, but it actually has a very specific function that these old cannons don't have, and that is that you can fire the cannon. Now, I think there was a projectile law in small toys back then, and even now there's still some restrictions, but the old cannons do not fire. They're non-firing, and they're actually harder to get than the current firing cannons. Part of me wants to replace one of the cannons in the set with a firing cannon, and the other part says, no, you need to leave it as stock and as original as you can. I think I will, for the sake of originality, authenticity, leave the non-firing cannons in the set. They also have a much nicer print with those crossed swords on top, but it's cool to see that there are a lot of differences even now than then, and if you could substitute a firing cannon in, would you do that? Would you make an upgrade to the Caribbean Clipper just for the sake of playability, for play feature? Let me know again down in the comments below, should I trade in the firing cannons for the non-firing cannons, or vice versa? What should I do with those? Because I'm kind of at an impasse where I have two firing cannons, and I could put those in place of the non-firing ones. But my goal is really to try to use as many original pieces and as many of the original elements as we can. The big concern for me right now is I did not get the blue and white sails in the set. I did not get lucky enough to find those in my brick box, and I'm kind of concerned as to how much they're going to cost. We'll talk about it in the next video when we actually sit down on Bricklink and part everything out, but I think that those are going to be some of the most costly parts of this set, is actually getting the sails back and getting everything in the condition that we want it to. But there is another more costly part of the set that I'm worried about, and that is, of course, the minifigures. The minifigures, each of them are unique to the set. They've only appeared once, and if we don't have the minifigures, I'm going to be selling the left arm to try to get them. That is a little worrisome, but hopefully we'll have a nice, pleasant surprise here to kind of cap everything off with. It's really been interesting to watch the pile dwindle as we keep going. It was so large when I started. I remember looking at this thing and actually like dumped most of the pieces out on my floor. But now we've gotten to the point where the pile is almost done, and all the parts that we're going to get out of this thing are just about there, except for these small little tiny pieces. But our parts bin is getting pretty full right now. Just to send episode 1 out on a high note, I managed to find the crew. That's right, I dug them all out of retirement. At least 3 of them. I wasn't able to find the 4th one just yet, but we do have the 2 Imperial crewmates, as well as a very, very special guest. That's right, the Imperial Captain. These figures, again, are unique to this set, and the fact that I was able to find them complete with all of the accessories, their pauldrons, their hat feathers, is really, really exciting, and I'm glad that we were able to finish this episode out on such a high note, having 3 of the 4 figures, and possibly only needing the 4th one on Bricklink if I decide to get it. Looks like it's time for the Clipper crew to rest now. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'm looking forward to continuing our Clipper quest and seeing if we can get the entire set complete and ready for review at some point. If you've enjoyed the videos, please let me know down below. Leave me a comment, send me a like, leave me a dislike, I'll still look at those, and subscribe for more LEGO videos. Until then, take care of yourselves, Happy New Year, stay warm, and good night.